Hello everyone, I'm Silvia Ramirez and I'm here in Seattle with my friend Daniel Christofferson. We're just finishing our last day of a very good class that we're taking. It's awesome and I invite him to share a little bit about our profession in my series Meeting Structural Integrators.
Thanks, Sylvia. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really glad to be here. I've been a structural integrator. I started out in massage school here in Seattle at Brennicky School of Massage back in 1995, 96. And while I was in school, I was introduced to Hellerwork structural integration by a practitioner who came in to teach a weekend class. And this woman walked in the room and my whole body went, I want what she has.
That's great.
And then as she started teaching and showing us some postural assessment, understanding how the body works, and she did a demo on the students, and one of the students stood up and they were very different. And my whole body went, I need to get that. And we partnered up, and the first person I worked on, I was just doing some light work on his chest, and he kind of broke into tears and had this big emotional release.
Wow.
And I was pretty much hooked at that point. I loved the rest of that weekend, learning what we were doing. As soon as I could, I got on this practitioner schedule and started having sessions, which really changed my body. And since I was in massage school, I was already working on people, so it was really fun to be able to take what I was learning just even during my own series and bringing that back and kind of incorporating it in with my clients.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about some changes that you felt that they were meaningful to you?
Yeah, I had a lot of tension in my system. Like my very first massage, I was lying on the table and my arm was out like this, and the practitioner kept shaking it, going, relax, relax. And I go, well, no, it is relaxed. I mean, I had so much tension that I didn't know how to let go and yield. And so going through the series really kind of freed up a lot of that. And as a practitioner, I kind of went to massage school because I thought it would be fun. I was young. Most of the people in my class were the age that I am now, kind of looking to get out of the corporate world and make a change and help people. And I was 20-something and like, hey, I'm just here because it sounds like fun. Everybody likes to get a good rub. But what I found with the massage is that people would come back with the same problems over and over and over again. They'd feel good, they'd be relaxed, we'd move some fluids, but we weren't getting like change. And so the structural integration was amazing because going through it myself, I felt the physical change in my body. Like I was different after the end of each session. Everything was kind of tight, compressed, pulled down, and I started to find lift and more connection to my body, more fluidity in my body.
Easier in your posture? Or easy to keep it lift or like in different position?
Well, not so much effort.
Okay.
Yeah, just a lot less effort. A lot less holding and tightness and just more fluidity in my movements, much more,
And nowadays, why would your clients will come to see you? What are the type of clients that
so,
you have in your practice?
as I said, I graduated from massage school back in 1996. I immediately started working with the woman who I'd studied with in school. I kind of, anytime she'd teach, I'd be there assisting her with classes. And then I went on to become her teacher's personal assistant, and I worked with her for a couple years, doing more classes, learning, and
It's an ongoing learning, right?
it's an ongoing learning.
People keep asking me, why you go to so many classes? Because there's so much to learn.
There is so much to learn.
And the more you know, it's like, oh my God, client comes to see you and you have all these questions like, oh, so yeah.
So in working with her and then doing the structural integration training, as I said, I was a massage therapist, so I was already seeing clients. And why people come see me, I've seen a variety of different populations over the years. I saw a lot of artists at one point, the glass blowers who are kind of always out in front with the big rod and everything.
And it's very heavy, right?
It's very heavy, and so they're always leaning, so they'd have back problems. I saw painters and sculptors and this whole community of people that would come see me when they had problems. And then over the years, it's kind of morphed and changed. I see a lot of athletes now, and I see a lot of young athletes when we were younger, well, when I was younger, you didn't hear about kids having back problems or, occasionally somebody would break their leg or something like that. But the sprains and the strains and the chronic conditions kids have now is really interesting. And part of it is because they start so young and they do one sport and they do it year round, so they don't have any break time. So their bodies break down. They kind of get stuck in one pattern. And so
how would it help them to in their practice? Let's say they're, I don't know, tell me one sport, like they do football.
I see football players, I see basketball players, I see a lot of track kids, a lot of weightlifters, gymnasts. And so, the basketball players are really tall. They're always leaning forward because they're kind of dribbling, and just in the world that we live in, it's not made for tall people. And so their hamstrings tend to get tight because they're counterbalancing. And so they're always surprised when they come see me and they're complaining about their hamstrings, and I bring their upper body over the top of them and actually get them balanced up here, and then their hamstring lengthens because that's the compensation. And if I just treated the compensation, they'd go back into that same pattern again.
So it's not about like going and rubbing where they feel tight.
No, it's about bringing the structure back into balance, and so it's more functional.
That's great.
Yeah. So, in any sport, they all have patterns that go with them. So that's
because you keep doing a repetitive
you're
motion.
Training your body into those patterns, and part of it is to get efficiency, but part of it is if we haven't been trained in good patterns, or we've had trauma in the past and we've compensated, we've used our body and moved around it. We kind of hit up against these restrictions as we're training, and then over time that creates patterns that will break your body down.
Do you notice if they include any type of stretches with their practice, or some people do, some others no?
Some do, some don't. A lot of the people that I see, it used to be you could have raw talent to be an athlete and succeed and go on to college, and a lot of the people that I see now, they're really engineered. So they're not only playing year round, but they're working with a speed coach, they're working with a weight training coach. They're doing other modalities of body work because they're really trying to maximize their performance because it's so competitive for young athletes now. So
they push themselves.
They push themselves, and they're under a lot of stress and pressure because there's a limited number of scholarships, there's a limited number of positions. And so, they want to get the best and optimize their performance. And so the structural integration does an amazing job of that in helping bring the body back into balance. If you think about if you have a bicycle that's bent and you're trying to ride around on a bent bicycle, you can do it, but you can't go very fast, and it's wobbly, and you're going to exert a lot more effort.
And then eventually maybe some parts of the bicycle are going to turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a bicycle that's all, brand new and everything's lined up and it's all aerodynamic, you can put minimal effort in and you get maximum efficiency. You get a lot more speed. Same thing with our bodies. When our bodies get tight, when they get out of balance, we don't have the same flexibility, we don't have the same strength, and we don't get the same results that we would if everything's lined up. So with the structural integration, it's kind of like hitting a reset. We go back, we look at any traumas that they've had that have created restrictions in their system. So scar tissue can create a snag in that system, kind of pull things down, and then it's like, oh, this doesn't move as well as it could.
Also, it used to move.
It used to move, yeah. So if I get a big scar here and it's kind of pulling everything down, maybe I'll see the massage therapist or the physical therapist, and they'll keep working on the shoulder and working on the shoulder, but until you get the scar down here to release, you don't get that movement in the shoulder. And we can get scar tissue, and trauma can happen in a lot of different ways. So it can be from a surgery, it could be from a cut, it could be from bad bruises, create little micro scar tissue in there. Chronic conditions that create chronic inflammation will create little micro scar tissue, and the tissues get stuck together. Just the dents and the dings, if we kind of smash things around, things get smashed up inside, and the body will tighten up around that.
What about organs? Like these classes, we're doing a lot of work with organs.
Same thing with organs. Our body, we look solid, but we're mostly fluid. And the organs inside are fluid, and they move around. Our brain moves around. Your whole guts and viscera move around, and so that can get sloshed back and forth. And the body prioritizes. If the organs feel like they're going to be damaged in any way, it'll tighten up around there and hold.
And then
most of us don't have the awareness to say,
Oh,
oh
my-
yeah,
my
my
liver is-
stomach is tight or my liver is tight and I need to let that go. So sometimes we need a little help.
Yeah. And then you don't know the relationship with maybe a part of your back or maybe related to your pelvis. You just know that you have some pain maybe when you move your femur.
Yeah.
But you don't know that it's related all the way to.
Exactly. When something gets tight, then something else will start moving more to compensate for that, and then something else tightens, and so we get this chain. With trauma, I say it's kind of like if you imagine a ball of yarn that gets all tangled up. You can't just pull on one piece of the yarn and expect it to untangle. You got to tease it apart. It's the same thing with structural integration. It's usually a series of 10 to 12 sessions. We kind of tease your body apart. We start with the superficial fascia on the outside. We kind of create some space. You can think of it like a sausage casing that holds all the meat inside. If that sausage casing gets tight, everything in there is really compressed. If you unwind the end of the sausage casing and release that tension, one, it's easier to get to the stuff inside. Your body doesn't resist as much. And then two, everything inside can go, it's got some room. So the first part of the structural integration series is really about opening up this superficial fascia. And then you work through the core, and then we kind of balance everything. So trauma is one way things that get stuck. Training is another one. So when we were talking about these athletes, they do these activities over and over and over and over again. They put these patterns into their body, and that becomes the only pattern they know.
So they don't have a lot of options.
They don't have a lot of options. And when we get tight, then we kind of start to disassociate from areas in our body. We don't have the awareness that we would.
When I was just starting my training, my teacher told me, because I did ballet for a long time, and then he would say, we need to work in your turnout, because I was only able to stand like this.
Okay.
And I felt like, why? Like, you're gonna take that away from me? I worked so hard to do it. He said, no, you're gonna have options, because now you're only like this.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to you have more options. And that with all the compensations around the whole body, because I was trapped in one pattern. So
Exactly.
I'm glad that I had more options now to move around, go back and forth if I want to and need to.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we all want choice. And the thing about these patterns is, the longer we live our lives, the more we're around, this stuff happens to us, whether it's the trauma or the training of these patterns. It's not just sports that train patterns in, it's our habits too. So how do we sit? How do we stand? How do we walk? What's our sleeping position? What's our breathing pattern? All of those create those patterns. And we can get stuck in those. And we don't even know that we're there. And then we lose choice and we lose adaptability. So structural integration is a lot about restoring that choice. And like, oh yeah, sometimes I want to be all slumped. And sometimes I want to have better posture. But I don't want to be stuck like this all the time.
Or stuck like this.
Or stuck like this all the time. Speaking of ballet, I had a client years ago who came in, brand new client, had never seen him before. And he walked in and he was having upper back pain. And I'm like, well, how long did you do ballet? And he looked at me like, how'd you know I did ballet? I did 10 years of ballet as a kid. And I was like, well, because you're still carrying yourself like a ballet dancer. He was still very short and, very open in the front, but very short in the back. And so in working with him, it was about, getting the ribs in the back to open up, getting the spine to relax a little bit, and kind of taking some of that ballet pattern that had been there for 40 years, even though he wasn't doing ballet anymore, kind of out of his system.
But also keep his grace of being lift and all that.
Exactly, but not having to have the effort or be stuck there.
Exactly.
It's like having gravity support him as opposed to him trying to defy gravity and be up on his toes all the time.
Oh, that's great. Would you like to share anything else? We cover a lot of information.
We did cover a lot of information.
Thank you so much for
Thanks,
accepting
Sylvia.
my invitation. And as you can see, this is all green. It's a little bit cold, but I love it. So
She's freezing.
I am freezing. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thanks for having me on, Sylvia.
Bye-bye. Thank you.